Hi everybody, my name is Majabella and I am here as your Sunday host for the Biophilic Alternative. I wanted to talk today a little bit about Napoleon Hill. And most people know Napoleon Hill as an author of the book Think and Grow Rich. But a lot of people, if they haven't actually read his work on Andrew Carnegie and a lot of the top inventors and wealthy men of America in his time in the early 1900s, may not know that Napoleon Hill was actually into a New Thought movement. That New Thought movement is what brought about things like the law of attraction and The Secret and a lot of other things that have come onto the scene in our New Age lifestyles. Jerry and Esther Hicks from the Abraham Hicks channeling, Jerry Hicks actually accredits Napoleon Hill in his works and writing as one of the things that got him very interested, which ended up leading to the fact that Esther could start channeling the entity known as Abraham. So one of the techniques that Napoleon Hill used in his workings went to help him become more successful at what he was doing himself, was a technique that he called the invisible counselors technique, or the Roundtable. Now, a lot of people in modern day politics and stuff like that have been known to do the same technique because they actually study Napoleon Hill and his work. I believe it was Hillary Clinton that would channel Eleanor Roosevelt, and there have been many, many other politicians that also used this technique. It is a form of channeling, but I think this technique that he uses also could get, if you wanted to open more of your ability to channel, ability to hear the other side, ability to hear your spirit guides, and more communication. So this is like an exercise. I'm going to read you a little bit of an excerpt so that you kind of know a little bit of a background behind it before I start actually telling you and going through the technique itself. Napoleon Hill said he visited with Aristotle, Edison, etc. He received brilliant ideas from his visits with the greatest minds, dead or alive. His meetings with counselors, he admitted, may have been fictional and perhaps were only his imagination. However, they changed his life. He felt he tapped into an infinite warehouse of wisdom. Back in 1937, Napoleon wrote Think and Grow Rich, and the book remains to this day a benchmark of lessons of this kind. Hill claimed this visualization technique was the ultimate tool for sourcing skills and information. He claimed he could tap into the mind of anyone for advice, wisdom, and guidance. Jesus, Socrates, Newton, Burbank, Lincoln, Plato, Homer, Edison, Galileo, Leonardo da Vinci, and other invisible counselors. Whether imagination or not, this technique changed Hill's life. It was also wrote, Jerry Hicks, in the interviews that they did about Abraham and what led up to them finding and being able to open to channel and to be successful with it as an open channel to Abraham, discussed that he had at one point found an original manuscript of Think and Grow Rich. In the early 1930s, when Hill wrote about the Roundtable that he would conduct on a regular basis. He was forced to change that part to using his imagination versus channeling, because that did hit a certain spot that he was going to be limited in how he could sell his books and stuff with certain kind of information. But if you do read his books, you realize that he was using a lot of techniques that we use today in magic work, and we also use in the power of positive thinking, law of attraction. I'm not sure who the first person who coined the phrase law of attraction, but I believe that he is one of the earliest people that I know of that actually used that phrase. And he was using law of attraction at all times, and actually very much telling you, and he would tell you, you know, what he thought his thought processes were on why law of attraction worked. So the basic technique basically is if there's certain answers that you are seeking, you have certain questions that you are looking for. In the I believe it was this one. I have some of his books on audio and some of them in written form. He actually talks about the Roundtable technique, and when he starts talking about it, he said that it was due to he was an excellent writer, but at this point he had to actually give a speech. And so he had a top orator that he was very familiar with, that he knew of in his time. He had passed away already, and he called upon that person to be at the round table. He generally had 4 main people at the round table, and then he would add or subtract people to the round table that would be more specific to what he was looking for at that moment in time. So because he wanted to give a speech, he called upon a great orator, somebody who had great talent in writing and presenting the speech to a large audience to where he could be captivating. And he would channel these people to answer the questions that he needed. So there can be anything from, what is my true purpose in life? What is my next step to improve my health, my career, my relationship? You can talk to mentors, you can talk to relatives, you can get as broad as your brain can come up with questions that you would like to have discussions with. You can put the person there that you need to have these discussions with. The round table doesn't have to be filled with people, but if it is something that maybe you can have an actual group discussion over a certain topic from, say, people from different points of view, you could do it this way, or you could do it one-on-one with somebody. It does not have to be elaborate. In the beginning, I think it's easier for me to go one-on-one than it is for me to have gone with a whole group. And so that's how I proceeded with mine. I actually did one-on-one because my topics weren't something that I needed to have a group of people kind of bouncing ideas off of me. So basically, the gist of how you do this technique is you have your questions that you want answered. Then you decide who would be the best candidates for achieving those answers. And then basically it's either just before you're going to sleep or when you're fixing to go into meditation. You start to close your eyes and envision the group of people surrounding you. Hill actually had a round table, like he was sitting at this round table. They were on one side, he was on the other. So they kind of horseshoed around him. The leaders don't always have to be someone who's already passed. But for channeling purposes, generally it does. However, you can even put someone who is already alive in there as well too. They can be anyone, someone that you know very well and someone that you don't know at all. It doesn't really matter at this point. You may feel more comfortable in the beginning to have a figure that you are more familiar with, so that you can get the ease of the flow going faster. You can invite anyone to join you, celebrities, authors, inventors, politicians, or anyone you deem powerful or influential. Once you have your counselors, you become the chairman, and you prepare to lead the discussion. Let's see, the second step is to be sure you have a definite purpose for holding the council meeting, such as anything you need to do to change or improve or need advice on. Call on the council members for wisdom, guidance that you'll need, and you ask each one and receive advice and answers. Keep an open mind. I would have something available to you in the very beginning to journal. It's like this is going to be very similar to a dream journal, and you're going to be able to write down anything that came up. Sometimes that writing it all down reinforces the advice to you, and that kind of helps keep you from forgetting, not to forget any of the little details, because these things can be filled with a lot of advice, and maybe sometimes you may not believe it at first, but when you go back and you reread what you wrote, the clarity will be there, and it can be a very great technique to use in basically changing your life. These are very magical skills, but they're also skills of growth in any area of your life. So it is one of the best techniques that I had run across. Hill has many more in his books, and I would advise anybody to read them, because Hill's Think and Grow Rich has a lot of techniques in there for goal setting, and a lot of it is just shy of what anybody would call a magic spell. And it can greatly enhance your prosperity spells, but however, it can also, these techniques that he goes through are something that you can apply to other areas of your life. He does specifically look to money for a lot of it, but he does also in his writings have a lot to do with other things that can stop our growth in other areas of our life. He talks about how to outwit the 6 ghosts of fear, and he tells you that the 6 ghosts of fear are the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of a loss of a love of someone, fear of old age, and the fear of death. And then he takes you through each one of those, and he says that there's other fears, but most of them, all the other fears are small compared to these 6 major ones, and that these can actually, the littler ones can all fit generally in one of these bigger categories. He goes through how you can identify if you are suffering from one of those fears, and he goes through how you can correct that thinking. So he's very good about changing your mental attitude about a lot of things, and also identifying. So he's using a lot of psychology techniques. He's using a lot of magical techniques. But all of these techniques that he is using can be applied to your magic life. It can also be applied to, like I said, every area of your life that you may need growth in. The best thing that it is doing, and a lot of times, is actually identifying your weaknesses that is holding you back. And once you identify something, then you can actually work to overcome it. But if you haven't even identified the source of a problem in your life, or the source of what might be holding you back, or it's kind of like alcoholism. You can't take the first step to recovery until you even admit that there's a problem. It comes on so slowly that at times you don't realize that you have a problem. And if you don't realize you have a problem, you're never going to work to correct anything that's going wrong in your life. So when he takes you through the book Think and Grow Rich, or his Golden Rules, or he has another book called The Law of Success, there's another spin-off, The Law of Attraction. There's many different writings. He was also a very prolific writer, because he ran a magazine as well, where he put a lot of these writings into. These things right here, just on this one author alone, that would not have been found in the metaphysical area, is one of the best writers to help you in your metaphysical life more, and more so in your regular life as well. But I think that all of us, there's no stopping the regular life and starting the magic life. It's all entwined. And so anything that helps us in either aspect of our life is furthering the other one as well too. Everything's about balance and stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that y'all go out and find some works by Napoleon Hill. I hope that you try to use this Roundtable meditation, and I hope that it enriches your life as much as it has enriched mine learning this technique. But I think the best thing it does in the long run, though, is also get you very used to understanding and starting to trust communications that you may be getting from the other side. I think a lot of times we have a fear that, and I'm going to say fear because it's a lack of confidence. When we start getting a certain communication, we kind of push it to the side because we figure it's just a figment of our imagination, and we don't trust all of the things that come in to us. I know in the beginning I had a communication with a spirit guide from the time I was very small. I had no problem talking to this guide that was with me. And in the very beginning, I thought it was God that I was talking to. So I felt like I was talking directly to God and receiving directly from God. As I grew older, I realized it was a spirit guide that had always been with me, always watched over me. My guardian angel, some people might say. Some people call it a higher self. As a child, I never once asked what this was. But then when I got a little older, and it was things like Ouija boards and other kind of things, I squelched myself. It was a long time before I could trust my skills in a more psychic realm, because I just always figured that it was coming from my mind and not an outside source. And this is someone who had an open communication with a spirit from the time she was small, but yet when it came to something that was outside my spirit guide, I didn't trust it. And so a lot of times techniques and these exercises help build a confidence to open up your spiritual life in a greater psychic way. Maybe opening you up to full out channeling, maybe opening you up to able to receive communication when you need to hear it. Maybe it would be when you are throwing down a layout for any kind of divination work like tarot, oracle cards, the Lenormand divination, the working with a pendulum, crystal ball gazing, fire gazing, anything that would require you to trust the images or the words or the feelings that you are receiving, and really consider that they are the messages from the other side that you're asking for. I think we all go through a point in time when we're working on opening these pathways that I think the biggest thing to overcome is the lack of self-confidence in what we're doing. But confidence comes with practice, and but practice is kind of hard when you are it's kind of hard to just there's not, this isn't like practicing your handwriting or practicing math or practicing, this is a different kind of practice, and sometimes we just need to be given ideas for the exercises, the tools to expand our mind. And we need to go into these situations with an open mind, an open heart, and a calming down. So that's the meditation part. The meditation kind of takes you down and stops your active mind from talking all the time and overrunning those more subtle messages that are coming in. I generally get a lot of my messages from the other side back behind my right ear. So when I start to hear it from this point of view, that's when I tend to know I'm getting and receiving something. It's very subtle, but I have to shut up the other part of my brain. Otherwise, my own active brain kind of talks over it. And I think that a lot of new people out there on the path and stuff, they have great gifts. They're born with these gifts, you know, but it's learning to trust them and develop them. And that development is kind of hard at times because, like I said, there's not... usually you're not going to have a mentor to try to work with you to bring that out. Other ways that you can bring out your psychic gifts are using all kinds of different energy works, whether it's quantum touch, Reiki, there's all kinds of different vibrational healing techniques. But those energy pathways that you're working tend to also open up that third eye and open up the crown chakra to let certain things in. So I hope this visualization technique works for you as a round table. If it does nothing but help you more creatively come up with the answers that you need in your life, fine. If it opens you up to channeling, if that's what you are wanting, a pathway. Some people do not want to become a channel, but if it is what you want, then I hope it can help get you there and you can acquire the skills. And just keep an open mind and just look at those old authors out there. There's a lot of old information out there that's actually very, very good. A lot of times they do kind of, you have to take it with a grain of, with which, when the book was written itself, you know, this man lived and worked mainly as a writer in like 1919. Think and Grow Rich came out in 1937. I don't remember when he passed away, but he was censored, so you have to remember that some of the things that he writes is kind of cryptid. But if you read between the lines and you really understand really what he's saying in his spoken word itself, that when you're actually reading it out, you can think, I do that in magic, or I do that technique there, or, well, Tony Robbins talks about that in positive thinking, or Abraham Hicks talks about that law of attraction, or there is a lot of that in this book and in his writings in general. And you can see that he was a metaphysical and spiritual person. And that also leads you to understand that so was Carnegie and Edison and a lot of other top minds of the day. They also dabbled in exactly what we do. And they were considered the movers and the shakers of the early 1900s. So just keep that in mind, and it's just one of my hobbies is to read on people like that, and I hope that y'all enjoy it as much as I do. Y'all have a very blessed Sunday, and blessed be. Bye.